Hello, my beautiful bookish friends. It is Thursday, and that means it is time for us to talk about my end of the year thoughts, feelings, stats, etc. about books. Yup, that was a really weird way to put all that. But today, I am talking about my favorite and most disappointing reads of 2021. I don't want to say worst books I read of 2021 because they're not bad books, they're just not good to me. So we're going to start off on a positive note because I feel like it's more fun to end with ranting. But let's rant in a good way about my favorite books. So these are just in the order that I read them, not necessarily how I would rank them on like a scale of 1 to 10. There's not even 10 books here. And these are not my only 5 stars of the year. These are just the 5 stars that I'm like, I need to read this again and again and again and again and again. So first and foremost, if you have been on my channel and watching my booktube stuff, especially recently, this one will not come as a shock to you. Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. This came out in 2020, but I read it in 2021, and I reread and tabbed it in 2021. This is the first book that I have ever reread in the same year that I originally read it, if that tells you something. And Carrie Maniscalco is one of my favorite authors. This is her delving into fantasy, where I love the Stalking Jack the Ripper series, which is historical fiction and mystery. So I was really hoping that she would pull through with this book. She did. Of course she did. So here is all my tabs, if you can see. These are all my thoughts and feelings on the book. There's some on the top too. I love this book. The dynamics between Amelia and Wrath, and actually Amelia and all of the 7 princes, is amazing. It's such an interesting take on hell and demons and religion and witchcraft, because I feel like so much of it gets twisted and turned into fitting certain people's point of views, and this just kind of throws that in the face of all of those notions from both sides of witchcraft and like the Christian Catholic demon belief system that's in here. The magic system is amazing in this. It's super easy to understand, which I love, especially in a book where I'm not really there for the magic, I'm there for the plot. The plot's good, it's not drawn out, it's the perfect twist and the perfect cliffhanger to get into the next book. So I will just continue reading this and, you know, look at my little tabs and be like, why did I tab that? Oh yeah, that's what that means. And enjoy it for many years to come. Next up is my first ever historical romance that I have loved, and that is Bringing Down the Duke. I read this, I think, right before I watched Bridgerton, and I feel like that made me love the book even more because I really liked Bridgerton. My friends were like, you have to watch it. So I ended up reading this before or after? I don't remember, but I remember thinking, oh, this is very that. I love Evie Dunmore's writing. I have read almost this full series, and, well, I'm almost caught up on it, I should say, and I'm obsessed. So I love, is it Annabelle or Isabel? Annabelle. I love the idea that she's a suffragette, and that's what this whole series wraps around, and it's not just a love story. Like, she kind of has ulterior motives going in, and then obviously those change. Again, enemies to lovers, which I love, and just a really interesting historical look during a time that I don't think you get in a lot of non-mass market romance, which a lot of people are like embarrassed to pick up because of the covers. This one, obviously, much more subtle, and it has some amazing moments of them bickering and that kind of moment where you know, like, okay, they're gonna end up together. So love this one, and all the other ones are very good as well so far. So I will keep reading this series, but yeah, this was a definite favorite this year. Next, we have a thriller, and that is People Like Her. This one I picked out from Book of the Month, mainly because it's really short and I just wanted a quick read. But this is a stalking mommy influencer book, which I feel like we're getting more and more of that like influencer, rich people drama sort of books right now, because it's the world we live in. But this one is about a mommy blogger who, you know, she's an influencer on Instagram. So that being said, you kind of don't like her, then you get the husband's point of view, and you don't really like him either. And then you get the stalker's point of view, and you kind of learn why the stalker thinks she's a horrible person, and she's not a good person. But, you know, you would hope that she could change, and that the ending of the book is just kind of perfect. Almost leads you to think that there could be a second book, but there's not gonna be, and I love that. Next one was a long anticipated read for me. It was just a matter of I wanted to wait to get it in paperback because I wanted all my editions to match. It's The Shadow Glass by Rin Chupeco. I love this series. The Bone Witch series could have gone on for 87 books and I would have been happy, but I am happy it was a trilogy. This book has everything. It has tragedy, it has love, it has redemption, it has exile, it has dragons, it has mythological creatures. Nothing about this is bad. And I don't even love high fantasy that much. This is the first high fantasy series that I've read and been like, okay, I like these books. I'm just looking here because I don't want to give any spoilers. Yeah, I can't say too much about this because you have to read the other two in order to get it, but we're just continuing the journey. We have, there's a parallel storyline going on between like the past and the present of T, you know, like telling her story to a bard, and we kind of come to the point where they meet up and it's like, well, now what happens? Favorite author, and love this book. It's just, and it's so pretty and creepy. Next, we have a book that you're probably going to hear about on a lot of people's favorites of 2020, and that is The Inheritance Games. Everyone compares this to Knives Out, and I don't think there's a better movie to compare this to. However, take the idea of like an escape room, put it with the family dynamics of Knives Out, but add a couple brothers in there, and like kind of it wouldn't be a love triangle, but like a love line, because like obviously the brothers aren't in love with each other, that'd be weird. But yeah, like a point and a point and a point and then doop doop, you know. So you got that going on here. I really want to read the second one. These covers, they're just gorgeous with the way the different pieces are all interwoven and they have something to do with the story. So it's very much Knives Out, Truly Devious, and an escape room all put together, which makes for a really fun book. Next, we have Fable, which I actually want to reread in December, which I may have already done so by the time you see this. I loved this book. First of all, pirate stories can get so messed up so easily. I loved this one. I like the idea that she's a traitor. She's kind of a smuggler. She's like the best at what she does, and she's working towards something that is not going to be easy to obtain, but also she has so many motives for why she's doing it, and that kind of, the guy who's there is like reluctant to help her. I really want to reread this one, mainly because I feel like I missed the whole romance part, and yet it was still one of my favorite books of the year. Yeah, if you need a good pirate book, this is the one. Fable is an awesome character, and also I love the cover design. The next one I don't physically have, but I really want to get, and that is The Midnight Library. This book, I thought I would either love it or hate it, and I'm really glad that I loved it. This book takes on so much in such a short period of time of just what your regrets can be in life, how it basically gives the opportunity of seeing if you took every path that you thought you would take in life, or, you know, the first thing is that what if she had married the guy she was engaged to? She finds out, is that life what I wanted? She finds out, if I had followed my music career, would it have been the life I wanted? You know, and how it affects other people. Like, basically it's all happening because she's in between the stage of life and death because she tries to take her own life. I like the way that it showed that maybe not everything you've hoped for was going to turn out the way that you thought in your head. So I thought it was really amazing the way it was written, and the librarian aspect of it was very interesting to me, like the librarian in the Midnight Library and how, you know, things occur throughout the book. Just like the, I don't want to say magic system, but kind of, I don't know what else you would call it. The way that you move between points in your potential timelines. It was kind of, it gave me like the TVA vibes from Loki, but not as orange and brown, but also not as, you know, like strict and government agency-esque, more like kind of warm, cozy, like safe place to return to. And my last favorite for December, I should have prefaced at the beginning of this that this is just books I read this year for the first time. So if I reread them because they're a favorite, I didn't include them in this list. So the last one is Kingdom of the Cursed, the second book in the Kingdom of the Wicked series by Carrie Maniscalco. Obviously, I was going to love this one because I loved the first one. This just developed everything further, so much deeper, but just put us in hell, and my makeup kind of matches. And just put so much more depth into wrath and envy that I love it. And I feel like there's the third book is just going to give us so much more, and the twist in this was amazing. I didn't see it coming. I'm someone who's very perceptive about these things. I always ruin the ending for myself, and this one didn't see it coming at all. Not in the slightest. So I can't wait for the third one. Now that we've talked about all the books I love, let's talk about all the books I didn't love so much. First one being The Lantern's Ember by Colleen Hawk, or Huck. I don't know how you pronounce this with the extra O in there. This book, when I initially got it, made me think of Sleepy Hollow mixed with Nightmare Before Christmas. And it is supposed to be a Sleepy Hollow retelling, with the Headless Horseman being this girl's kind of, she's a witch, but he's kind of her, like, guardian angel, protector, guide, because she can see him and other people can't. So I was thinking, okay, cool, they're gonna go to Halloween Town together, or the equivalent of like Halloween Town where all the paranormal creatures live before Halloween. They're gonna have this adventure because she wants to get into stuff she's not supposed to get into, and he's like, well, I gotta go with you. And then there be some sort of romance. However, so much more happened in this book, and this book is the epitome of less is more. I feel like there could have been 150 pages taken out of this, and it still would have been a good book. There's a steampunk element, which is cool and fine. I like the idea of this paranormal world being steampunk. But then there's a vampire involved, and then there's like these vampire pirates involved, and then there's this power struggle for energy, and then there's an island with this Frankenstein type doctor, and then there's this ball, and then there's like a lost love trope, and then, you know, see how the list just keeps going on, and how it would be very easy to get lost. I read this physically, and it just, I don't know. I'm keeping it on my shelves for now because I do want to reread it and see if maybe I just missed something the first time through. The next one has already been unhauled, and this book I wouldn't even call worst, just disappointing. And that is Love and Luck. I thought I would love this just because of the broken-hearted girl going to Ireland for this destination wedding, meeting someone over there who takes her on this grand adventure, and she's with her brother, so there's like a fun sort of sibling element to it, and it's her brother's friend, so there's like that weird dynamic there of like, well, can we date, or will it be too weird? And again, I feel like with this one, too much happened at the middle and end, and not enough happened at the beginning. Also, I know this book is a little bit older, but it's not old enough for the like big twist as to why she broke up with her boyfriend, and like this big scandal that she was involved in, and kind of why she wants to leave the US for a while. It wasn't as hard hitting as I thought. Like, the way this sounded, it made it sound like her, and this is he did a horrible thing to her, but it was just so lackluster. And I feel like by the time we got to the end where we were like, oh, that's what he did to her, like, what a horrible, horrible person, it was just handled in a really sort of, well, it's okay, because I've come and I've had this adventure and I'll go home and it won't matter anymore. So I'm gonna give Love and Gelato a try. If I don't like that, I'm gonna get rid of that book as well and just cancel that whole series from my TBR. Next one I do have, and it was a book of the month pick, which kind of sucks, but it's The Lost Apothecary. This one is the dual timeline of the historian going to London and finding this apothecary bottle and tracing it back to this apothecary that was kind of a myth, but then people find out it was very much real and is the cause of some murders of some very prominent men from back in the day in London society. I mean, this book is short. I feel like it could have been another 100 pages and given me more of that historical timeline, and I would have loved it. I don't know if this was just, maybe this was an 800 page book and it went to publishing and they were like, you got to cut this down because no one's going to read this. I feel like I would have read it if it was that long, or if it was 2 books. Like, I feel like this could have been, I don't know, a duology. And again, there was like a mystery element and then there was a twist, but the twist was lackluster, like you kind of saw it coming. So next one is a contemporary romance, which I know, kind of shocking. Usually I'm a big sucker for these, but it was Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. So I actually have this in my unhaul pile as well, which was just like a recent decision. But I liked the concept of this book. A girl who's a fanfic writer ends up the subject of some online bullying and trolls because she is a self-proclaimed fat person. And she cosplays a show that's supposed to be like Game of Thrones. And this guy's supposed to be kind of like, I think the Jaime Lannister or Jon Snow kind of person. And, you know, some people are like, oh my God, you look great. But then there's a lot of the like negative comments. And he basically kind of swoops in and saves her. But he also secretly writes fan fiction about the show to write some of the storylines that he doesn't agree with. But nobody knows that. And they end up having a romance. So they kind of, he kind of catfishes her in a way because they've actually been secret friends online for a really long time. And, you know, all of that starts to happen. But basically my big thing in this is that the breakup is the miscommunication trope, which I hate. I need like a reason beyond miscommunication. But going along with that, several times in the book, the main character just doesn't let him talk or express his feelings. Like, as long as she's upset, then it doesn't matter if someone else is also upset in that situation. So that was kind of annoying, and I just didn't connect with the book like I thought I would. So I'm just gonna unhaul it. And yeah, I was pretty disappointed with this one. Next one, I don't have anymore because I already unhauled it. And that is City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. I actually completely unhauled all the Shadowhunters books that I had. Because I read the first one fully expecting to be like wowed by this amazing fantasy world that everyone's been obsessed with since like 2014 or maybe even before that, and I just didn't love it. Part of it too is in order to read the full series, you have to you can read them in release order, but there's like a MCU type timeline where you have to read like 1 and 2 of this series and then jump to 1 and 2 of this series, come back for 3 and 4, and then read 1 of this series. Like, there's so many offshoots. Just too much for me book-wise. And I don't have the shelf space currently for it. So I pass those along, and I'll probably just read the rest of the series from my library. Next is one, speaking of Marvel, I really thought I would like because it is Marvel, and that's Black Widow Forever Red. This one has nothing to do with the movie. It has nothing to do with Yelena. There is, and even like Black Widow's character Natasha is just not the same. I am keeping it because I feel like maybe if I just reread it, I'll like it more because I listened to the audio instead of physically reading it. Maybe I need to physically read it. But it just seemed like if that's the original plot of the movie, because I know the Black Widow movie went through a bunch of rewrites, then I'm really glad they rewrote it. I feel like if you don't watch Marvel, you would like it, but if you watch Marvel and you like what Scarlett Johansson brings to the character, like the actual emotional depth, then you won't like this book. I ranted and raved about it. It's in the unhaul pile, never to come out again. The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. This book is awful. I feel like everyone either hated this book or hated the second book. And then you loved the other one. So this one, just the concept of her going to her like reclusive grandmother's old mansion and, you know, finding things out about her family, that sounded super cool and sounded really witchy. It's like kind of, but then there's like this grim fairy tale lane that kind of exists, but it was really confusing. And honestly, the only reason I finished this book is because I had it on audio from the library, and I was at the gym listening to the last like half of it, and I put it on like 3 times speed and was like, I just want to get through this. Honestly, another one where the character just irritated me was Honey Girl. This is a short book, and I read 180 pages and gave up because this book was just not it. And I saw a lot of the reviews on Book of the Month said the same thing, is that the main character is supposed to be 30 in this, and she acts like she's 12. Didn't love it the way I thought I would, and it wasn't funny. Like, it said it was funny on the description, and it wasn't. So this was a big letdown. So that's it for this end of the year kind of booktube countdown, whatever you want to call them. Those were my best and most disappointing books of 2021. Let me know down below what your favorites were, and we'll see if any are the same or if I need to add some to my TBR for 2022, and I will see you guys in the next one.